we're in the bucket now, and basically from this point, we're talking about what's going to be happening um, going up onto the roof from here. So the guys have got the truck set up, the ground engineer is starting to secure all the things that we need on the ground side. So he's talking to engine guys, getting water secured to our truck. Because we only have 4 guys, I leave 2 of us will go up in the bucket. Our third guy, our firefighter, will be at the turntable. And before he gets to the turntable, he's going to help me load up whatever it is we're going to take. Based on this building, I don't think there's an application for any metal saws on the roof, so we'll take a chainsaw, we'll take a circular saw with a wood blade, and obviously axes, pike poles, and anything else we think that we're going to need. The guy on turntable is important for us, because if we get to a point where we get up to the roof and we realize that our parapet is big, 4, 5, 6 foot parapet, he's going to have to come up the ladder and take our roof ladder here and hand it to us, and then we're going to have to go through that whole operation of getting off the bucket onto a roof ladder and down to the roof to get over that parapet. He's also down there just in case we need to bring anything else up. If we want a line, which we are going to need a line, we have hose here in the bucket to help us with that. But I can also tell him, hey, if we're going out here, 150 or 200 feet, I'll have him grab a couple of high-rise packs and he can bring those up too. We have a gated Y here on the front, and what we'll do is we'll plumb the truck with water, so we know we have water up here and we can have a hand line on the roof. In a particular situation like this, where you have such a big building and you're going to have a lot of trucks, a lot of engine companies, a lot of different places, it's not necessarily hard to get a line off an engine company, but the problem is once you get the line off the engine company, it's only going to take you so far. So we're going to have to be adding line to either that line and then try to get it up to the top of the roof, or why don't we just take the line that we're going to wind up adding and take it off of our bucket, and then we're kind of in control of our own water supply. I mean, you don't want to be the guy who's up here on the roof and all of a sudden they start shutting lines down or whatever, and they don't know where that line goes. Now you're without water. At least we're in control of our water supply and the fact that we've got it all the time. So now that we're ascending, I'm still listening to the reports from inside the building. Are conditions changing? That's what I'm looking at, and I'm looking at the building now, really starting to size things up. Tilt slab, I'm looking for smoke or fire from the cracks in the tilt slab. I'm looking at the parapet once again to make sure that I'm right about how large that is or how tall that is. I'm looking at smoke, productive smoke from underneath the flashing or from anything else on the roof, AC units, coolers, anything like that. I'm also looking at the skylights that are up here. Are any of them sagged or melted in? That's an indication of where the fire's at. And I'm also taking a look at now where the initial line went into the building. Wherever the initial engine company that's making the first attack on the fire, wherever their line is going in the building, I'm going through in my head where that line is going in the building based on what his reports are. At this point, I can see the roof and I can see that we have a pitched roof. There is a ridge that runs from east to west in the center with a slight pitch to the north and a slight pitch to the south. Based on the scuppers, that's the way the roof is going to be draining. It's going to be draining away to the south and toward us to the north. Once we decide where we're going to get on the roof at, I'm going to talk to the command or talk to the interior crews and give them a roof report. Basically what I see on the roof, how it appears to be built, and whether or not it's, from a structural integrity standpoint, does it look good? If you look over here to the west, you can tell automatically, based on the air conditioning units that are different colors over there and the vent pipes, that most likely is where the offices are at. It's like its own little environment underneath this giant warehouse of a building. So inside of there's probably suspended ceilings, nicer offices, it's cooler in there, air conditioning, all the things that happen in an office happen over there. Vent pipes over there for bathrooms, for utility rooms, for washrooms, washer, dryer, whatever it might be, all that stuff is over there. So in my mind, I can kind of formulate a picture of what it looks like underneath. Some of the other things that I'm looking at before we dismount the ladder are going to be how the roof is laid out. I can see it's almost like looking at a skinny animal. If you look closely, you can see that because there is a center ridge and the way that the skylights are laid out, I'm guessing that you're going to have some big girders running east and west, probably multiple ones. Maybe cut that building into thirds or into fifths and have big glulam girders running east-west. You're going to have parallel cord trusses running north and south, and you can see them off of the skylights here. It's like a skeleton, just reading a skeleton. And then most likely you're going to have purlins in between those parallel cord trusses. So we'll go ahead and put the bucket down toward the roof and talk a little bit about getting off the bucket and how that's going to work. So at this point we're in a position where we would go ahead and be exiting the bucket, getting on the roof. What I'm looking at now is I'm looking at the sheeting on top of the roof, and it looks like it's a polyurethane rubberized type of roofing that where they glue or melt the seams together. And then under that you're going to have the decking of the roof, whatever it is, it's probably plywood or OSB. And what we'll do is I'm going to take one more good look around at the sheer size of this building and realize that, you know, this is an awfully big place to be operating, and you want to be really, really careful before you get out on this big thing. So I'm going to listen one more time to the guys inside and find out what kind of issues they're having, if they're having any, and how far in the building they are. And then I'm going to be looking again one more time at where their lines are going in the building. I'm going to go ahead and exit the ladder, be sounding the roof, walk the wall to wherever I can determine that I want to go ahead and make my way up into this football field. And basically what I'm going to be doing is when I get off, I'm going to be sounding the roof real hard, paying attention, being real smart about where we're going and how we're moving around, looking at changing conditions. Are more skylights melting? Do we have more productive fire? Do we have any fire through the roof? Are the conditions changing with the smoke? Is there more volume? Is there more pressure? Is the color different? We'll get off here, I'll cut an inspection hole, I'll take a look, and basically that inspection hole is going to allow me to verify if my feeling about how the roof is built is true. At that point, once we figure that out, we're going to walk on down the wall here to a place where we feel is safe, get on one of these one of these parallel cord trusses, walk our way out to where we feel like we need to be based on the interior reports, and go ahead and figure out how we're going to cut our hole. Now the way this roof is laid out, we're going to stand on a parallel cord truss and cut a louver perpendicular to the ridge of the roof. So it's going to be opposite of what it would normally be. We would stand on the parallel cord truss, make our top cut parallel to that parallel cord truss, do our down cuts, which would be east and west, and then come along the bottom, going north and south again, and spinning the louvers on the purlins. The tricky part about this is that your purlins in this building might not be very substantial, so you have to be really careful about your depth of cut. And all of that can be determined basically by an inspection hole or two or three. Initially I'm going to cut an inspection hole. As we move farther and farther out on the roof, I'm going to cut another one, and I'm going to cut another one. So maybe on this roof I might cut 2, maybe 3 inspection holes before we get to a point where we're going to ventilate this roof. The other thing you have to consider is constant 360-degree visualization of what's going on the roof. Got to pay attention, you have to sound the roof, you have to listen to interior reports, and you have to be ready or prepared to give reports to the inside based on what the conditions are up here on the roof. So if we get fire through the roof at any point, we get anything that doesn't look like it's good, structural integrity type issues, we see vent pipes growing, we see any kind of thing that's strange, smoke from cracks, stuff like that, we're going to let the interior crews or let command know that. So we'll get up here, we'll cut a hole, then we'll work our way back to the ladder or to our safe spot, all the time sounding the roof, paying attention to what's going on, and really understanding that if you cut a 4x8 hole on a roof this size, how much of a difference is that really going to make? So you have to be able to say, is what I'm doing actually going to make an effect out here? And so, you know, one hole probably not, two maybe. Can you use the things that are available to you naturally? Would we be better off just going out, walking a parallel chord truss? And if we see that, you know, the farthest skylight is melted, maybe we take that skylight out, take the next skylight out, the next skylight, and work our way back here. That's a natural form of ventilation. It might be a lot quicker, it might be a lot safer, it might be a lot easier. So you got to be weighing your options and paying attention to what's going on, constantly looking around, sizing up what you got going on the roof.